On another morning edition of Locked On Astros, I am feeling it. The World Series vibes. Why? Because the Astros may still be in on Blake Snell. So let's talk about that on this edition of Locked On Astros.
Buenos días, this is Locked On Astros.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me on X at Eric Talkstros. Find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. Thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. Whether it's on YouTube, go and subscribe to us. Go and make us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Go ahead and check out the Locked On Astros podcast and become an everydayer. Brett, where can you find you at?
They can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on X, Instagram, and TikTok. They can find me at Stros411 on X, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive, always Stros. Positive that I love the fact that we can talk about maybe Papa Crane is really enamored by Blake Snell like he was last year. You know, the biggest question marks remains the depth of bullpen. And can someone like Snell coming in as a starter strengthen the bullpen by putting one of these newer starters in a long reliever role and help the Astros down the road? Look, I'm feeling World Series vibes this morning. But first, we need to mention someone that the Houston sports community and sports radio community lost yesterday.
Yes, Fred Fower. He was a longtime radio host with ESPN 97.5. He was also a Houston Chronicle editor and journalist. But he was 59 years old. He made an impact in my life recently as he brought me and Brandon Del Castillo back together with Talking Stros on the Gallery Sports Network. And he even got me almost interested to start writing again. And so he got me writing again for a little bit there. But I did so much writing when I was with Climbing Taos Hill that I just kind of got burnt out from doing that. But he was too young. 59 is too young to pass away. And he leaves a family and a lot of people that he inspired over the years. And he had a lot of funny takes over the years and a lot of good skits that people still try to emulate to this day. And so he left a lifetime of memories for a lot of people that on the drive home. And he was even after the Gallery Sports thing kind of fell apart. He was even doing his own solo podcast and he was bringing guests and just doing what he does, talk sports. And so Fred Fower, the Falcon, rest in peace, buddy. Thank you for everything you've done for the Houston sports community.
No, yeah, definitely. It's always tough when you lose a legend like that. And we just want to tip our hats to, the guys. Just all the guys that were impacted, I think, who knew him most, like, Patrick Crichton and guys like that actually were like lifelong personal friends with him. So Eric, moving on to the Astros, the Dylan Coleman experiment has not really gotten off the tarmac. And, this was a low risk, high reward type of move. It wasn't like the Astros sacrificed or gave up the farm to get him. They didn't go out and spend a ton of money. And, Dylan Coleman is somewhat of a project. And, Dana Brown talked about how, he's got good stuff. He just can't pinpoint he just can't locate the fastball in the strike zone the way they want him to.
Well, his walks are an issue for him. So this spring he has in 4.1 innings pitch, he has a 4.54 ERA. He has 5 strikeouts, but the walks that has plagued him his entire major league career, his entire minor league career, it's been an issue. He's averaging about 5 walks per 9 innings pitched. And that's something that's plagued him throughout his career. He can throw 98 miles per hour with his fastball, but if you're not hitting it in the right location, the Astros pretty quickly figured out what the issue is. But even if the Astros say this is what the issue is and you still can't execute it, it takes some time to get that going. And so Dana Brown put a lot of stock into Dylan Coleman being the guy. He said he's got the stuff. He definitely has his stuff, but he's got to pinpoint his command a little bit better. And so you went out there, you let 3 to 4 relievers go this offseason. You did sign one of the best closers in baseball in Josh Hader, but you didn't really fill in the gaps. And they did go out and get Coleman. They did go out and get a few other journeyman type relievers, but nobody's really kind of standing out. And Coleman said, I'm way too rotational and I'm flying open. Where I am is where I'm aiming. The direction has to be more straight. It's not fluid. It feels sticky, jerky. And when you're in that kind of mindset, or you don't have the kind of the fluid delivery, your command's gonna be off. And the Astros, Josh Miller, said that the last outing on Wednesday was a step in a positive direction. He saw some good things there, but they felt like he needed some time in AAA to work on this. So they're not saying that it's a waste. They shouldn't have made the deal to get him, but at this time they feel like he needs some more practice at AAA, meaning there's an opening definitely on the Astros opening day roster for the bullpen.
Right. Now, let me tell you about a guy that I think will make the roster, and that's Taylor Scott. Eric Taylor Scott has actually had a very good spring training this year, and I like what I see out of him. He's 8 innings pitched. He's given up no runs, and he has 7 strikeouts. Yeah. And so at the end of the day, he may be a guy that goes in and fills that spot. And yeah, you are really feeling the sting of not having Neris, of not having Stanek, of not having Baton. You would have liked to get, I would have loved to get Neris back. I think the Montero contract probably limited that. But what Neris signed for, it didn't seem like an insurmountable piece. And of course, at the time, we didn't realize they were eyeing Josh Hader. I don't think anybody realized that. And the reason why I think it's important for us to talk about what Chandler Rome and what the Athletic is talking about is because when you bring in a Blake Snell, like I mentioned in the intro, you can use one of your guys that is in your rotation. If you're not going to do a 6-man, you've got Urquidy, right. You've got JP France. Those guys can fill relief roles. I don't want to say Christian Javier because I want to put him as a starter. I don't want to relegate him to a relief pitcher. I think he's going to have too good of a year to do that. And I think he needs
JP France would go to bullpen if you bring in another starter. We'll talk about that in a second. To go off your conversation, Parker Murzinski is having a good spring, 6-inning pitch, no earned runs, 9 strikeouts. Seth Martinez, 3.2 innings pitched, 5 strikeouts. Brandon Bielak, he's likely going to make the roster just because he's out of options. The Astros don't want to lose him. He is very valuable as a piece that can do long relief. He can also be a 1-inning reliever. So, but he's having in 3.1 innings. He has a 5.40 ERA, 3 strikeouts. Bennett Sousa, he looked really good last year, Sousa, but this spring, he's got 5 innings pitched, 5.40, 2 strikeouts. Ronel Blanco is looking great. He's likely going to make the team, if not as a 6th starter, which he likely is going to be. He's going to be a long reliever. In 7 2/3 innings pitched, he's got 8 strikeouts. So there is some good things happening in the Astros bullpen. It's not all doom and gloom like we saw yesterday with Rafael Montero, but even let's not get too frustrated with Montero's 1 appearance. I mean, these guys, we have to remember Montero he's made this team. He may be trying out stuff, but I know we already saw the show. We know how it ends.
What have you done for me lately? I mean, there are certain seasons of The Office that I just won't rewatch because I don't think they're very good. And there are other seasons of The Office that I will watch on repeat 100 times in one day if I could. So, and he is more like season 8 of The Office than he is season 1 for me, if I could make that analogy. But with that being said, this whole deal with with Blake Snell is really interesting. And I want to talk about that after we talk to our people about Robinhood. All right, y'all. Robinhood is here. And if you go to robinhood.com/boost, you will get an amazing deal. So here's the deal. Did you know that even if you have a 401k for retirement, you can still have an IRA? Robinhood has the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this, now through April 30th, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar you transfer in from other retirement accounts, with a 3% match. That's right, no cap on the 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. This offer is good through April 30th. Get started at robinhood.com/boost. Subscribe fees do apply. And now for some legal info. Claim as of Q1 2024, validated by Radius Global Market Research. Investing involves risk, including loss. Limitations apply to IRAs and 401ks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold for 1 year from the date of the first 3% match. Must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. The 3% match on transfers is subject to specific terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA, available to U.S. customers in good standing. Robinhood Financial LLC, member of SIPC, is a registered broker-dealer. And this episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. Say goodbye to busted brackets because FanDuel lets you bet on every game of the tourney. Whether you're betting on the big upset or a 1 seed, it's time to go dancing on America's #1 sportsbook. We all know that you're going to be going for the U of H Cougars. Whose house? Cougs' house. That's right, because right now new customers get $200 in bonus bets in your first 5. If your first $5 bet wins, that's $200 to use on point spreads, money lines. You can even pick who's going to win it all. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and bet on college hoops until they cut down the nets. Let's go Cougs.
All right, guys, let's go and talk a little bit about March 20th. That's when the MLB preview show is going to come out for the AL West. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be on it's going to be Locked On Sports Today. So go check it out. It's going to have all of us talking crap to each other about who's going to win AL West. Are the A's going to finish in last place again? So all that stuff, you got to go check it out. So Brett, I know that we're kind of wondering what we're going to talk about. Are we going to spend the whole day, the show, talking about the Astros bullpen today? But then we both woke up to this article today from Chandler Rome. And granted, I think the Blake Snell is a lot of speculation on his part, but that's something that he's allowed more of in his role with the Athletic. But there could be some legitimacy behind it because of the history. So what was said on the show, on the article, was that the Astros are currently looking right now, according to multiple sources, to upgrade not just in the bullpen, but upgrade the starting rotation, especially with Justin Verlander being out. He hasn't even appeared in a spring training game yet. And so this is what he said. Dana Brown said as of Thursday night. As I've said multiple times, we will always have our foot on the gas when it comes to winning and acquiring pitching. As long as Snell is on the market, we'll check in to ask what is the latest. Nothing new as of now. So they are checking in on Snell. Now, is he could be more available? We don't know. This is what we do know, that Snell and Scott Boras have made it very much known that he's willing to take a short-term deal because he knows that he can get a long-term deal later. He's still young. I believe he's 31. So this is opportunity for Jim Crane to be like, YOLO, let's go ahead and try to improve the rotation for the next 2 to 3 years and just have this do what the Padres did. Let's just go out and get this super great rotation.
Yeah, and when you look at someone like Blake Snell or even Jordan Montgomery, you wonder what the comparison is when it comes to their careers, and how they've done, what their performances have been. And I just like that Blake Snell's coming off of the Cy Young year.
Right.
Jordan Montgomery had a good season, but Jordan Montgomery would probably cost less. All right. And Blake Snell may cost a little more, but I think you can get him on a flyer. I think you can get him on not a flyer. I think you can get him on a 1-year deal with some opt-outs. I know there's some talk I had last night on the spaces with some people saying, well, we could defer like salary to guys like Bregman or Tucker. That would maybe open the door for someone like a Snell to come in. But he's the caliber of pitcher that you want, that very much, if Kevin Cash keeps him in that 2020 World Series, as much as we joke about it, had they won that game, had he stayed in, the Rays could have been World Series champions, and his legacy might be a little different. But I think the most recent, I know he had a little high ERA, but look, with this rotation, with this team behind him, Blake Snell seems like a good fit. And I would love to have him on this team. I'm excited that they're actually talking to him, actually speaking with him. And so I guess we'll just have to see. But I think the key part of that phrase is he said, he goes, we always have our foot on the gas. And
Right.
that matches what Jim Crane said, as long as I'm here, the run will not end. And I'll squash any of these Bauer, sign Bauer for league minimum. Every other team hates us already. No, Bauer is an absolute cancer. In the bullpen, he's cocky. Who chunks a baseball to center field because he's mad at the coach? That's a petulant child in a big league uniform. And has he been successful? Yeah, in the Japanese league and against a AAA team. Good job, Bauer. And look, whether accusations are true or false, I could care less about that. I'm not even thinking about that. I'm talking about his on field. He's a head case. He hates the Astros. Alex Bregman hates him. This clubhouse, if you don't understand the Astros culture in the clubhouse, then you go sign Bauer. But if you understand the culture in the clubhouse, he absolutely does not fit. It's a square peg in a round hole, period. And that's all I'll say about Bauer, because he is never going to put on an Astros uniform.
Yeah, the thing about Blake Snell, he's really good with the strikeouts. He's in top 6% in the league. He had a 31.5% K rate last year, but he also struggles with walks. Last year, he had a career high 13.3% walk rate, which is the bottom 4% of the league. So he had 99 walks. So that is something that is alarming. His control is going away a little bit, but overall, if you look at StatCast, most of everything else is in red. Chase percentage is a little bit lower than you would like, but his whiff percentage is up there. Hard hit ball is 83%. So everything looks pretty good with Blake Snell. You have to wonder why. I think it's the fact that he's still 31. He's looking for that 6-year deal, but he's open to a short-term deal. And that's what we know that Jim Crane is looking for. He's looking for a shorter deal. He doesn't have to give a 5 to 6 year deal. Also, we know that he targeted both Josh Hader and Blake Snell at the trade deadline last year. When he couldn't get those two guys, he just kind of used the two prospects to go ahead and trade for Justin Verlander instead. So we do know that there's some interest there. And I think that if this goes on too much longer, I think you'll see Blake Snell just fall in the Astros' laps, because we know that the Yankees will not go for him. But the only problem is, Brett, if you go ahead and sign that, let's say you go ahead and get Snell $30 to $35 million per year. This is from Michael Schwab. What is that could do to the luxury tax threshold? Right now, we're at $255 million, which is about $18 million over the threshold. So let's say you sign Snell for $35 million. That'll put Houston at $290 million, which is $53 million over the threshold. That means that you'll have to pay 42.5% cent surcharge over the overages, and the first round pick in the 2025 draft moves back 10 spaces. So
Okay. So with that being said, I'm combing through Chandler Rome's article, and he says, and I quote, Houston has concerns about length it will receive from its current rotation, a problem that free agent Jordan Montgomery may be better suited to solve than Snell. So even though I said what I said about Montgomery earlier, I do think that Montgomery presents to you a cheaper option, not a bad option at all. And so while we're talking Snell, they may also be talking to Montgomery's camp as well. So
Michael
could
Lorenzen too. He would be cheaper option. Don't forget that he threw a no-hitter last year.
Yeah, he'd be cheaper than all three, but if I was going after three of those, I'm going after Snell and Montgomery first.
Mike
Lorenzen,
Clevenger's out there too.
come on, Eric. Eric, come on, dude. We're not going there, bro. But hey, let's tell everybody about Amazon Fire TV. Hey, this episode is brought to you by Amazon Fire TV. Learn more and visit amazon.com/locked on Fire TV. Fire TV is your destination for sports, for live games, to highlights, to in-depth analysis. It offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs, as well your Fire Stick. If you've got one of those two things, you're set up for opening day in baseball. For March Madness, you're going to want to have Fire TV. That's right. It created Fire TV channels to deliver a constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands, all for free. That includes all of us at Locked On and most of the big pro leagues and college conferences. Fire TV channels let you dive into all the game analysis, highlights, and more to keep up to date with the latest world of sports, March Madness, NBA, MLB, and so much more. Not to mention great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, cooking videos as well. Check out Fire TV channels on Fire TV and Alexa devices. If you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should. Trust me on this. To learn more, go to amazon.com/locked on Fire TV.
Guys, on March 20th, don't forget to check out the Locked On AL West preview. It's going to be all the AL West hosts except for the A's, and we're going to be talking about who's going to win AL West, who's the most likely MVP, and all that. It's going to be on Locked On Sports Today. It's going to be streaming 24/7. It's going to be on your Amazon Fire TV. So go and check it out. It's on Locked On Sports Today, and I believe it's going to be at 7 p.m. But Brett, I do want to kind of close out the Blake Snell talk by saying that if you do this, the Astros do have some holes in the bullpen, but if you get another starter, this will allow you to kind of push Ronel Blanco into the bullpen and maybe even Belak, and that'll give you two more pieces for the bullpen. And then when Justin Verlander gets back, you can push JP France maybe into the bullpen, and that'll kind of solve some of your issues with your bullpen without having to go out there and trade some pieces for another reliever. The Astros probably could have gone out and got Ryan Stanek instead of letting him go to your rival, the Mariners. They probably could have gone out and got Maton for basically nothing instead of letting him go to the Rays. They could have gone out and gotten Neris instead of letting him go to the Cubs, but they were confident with what they had. Now that as the season approaches, they're not so confident. And so now it's going to cost them something. They're either going to have to make a trade or sign another starter to put their current starters into the bullpen. And so it's something that Dana Brown has to decide pretty quickly.
How interesting would it be for Jordan Montgomery to receive his Rangers World Series ring in an Astros uniform?
Oh, I would love it. I just don't want him to go back to Arlington. I do not want him to be back.
Okay, he's not going back to Arlington, guys. Arlington has got money problems, big time money. But dude, so yeah, we put, is Jake Meyers legit, bro? Why, Eric? Why are you okay? Eric,
he had another home run. That's second in 2 days or something.
I know, but Eric, you are questioning my judgment. I don't like that. Is Jake Meyers is legit.
I just want to piss you off this morning.
I know. It's morning. You like throwing me curveballs. Jake Meyers is legit, is how that sentence should be corrected to, because even Joe Espada himself said he's playing his butt off. He's confident. He looks good out there. He's got the confidence of his skipper. He's got the confidence of the club. And I know everybody feels like Chas McCormick is the odd man out, but Chas isn't complaining. Chas is getting the left field spot. Yordan Alvarez and him will be platooning. And it's just one of those things where I think you're going to see Jake Meyers have a breakout offensive year. You know what? If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I'm going to put my money, well, not literally, I'm going to put my money on Jake Meyers this year. I really think he's going to have a good year, and he doesn't have to hit 300. I'm talking 280, 275, 280. Give me 20 to 25 home runs. He's very capable of doing that. I don't think he's a liability in the outfield. The only thing that does concern me is his shoulder. But he's been full steam. He hasn't let up. He hasn't looked timid. And I think he's gotten past that, because that's a tough injury to get over. And some players don't ever recover from shoulder injuries. I don't care if you're football, baseball, basketball, or hockey. Shoulder injury is a hell of a thing to overcome. And he's hit the markers. And the Astros wouldn't put him there if they didn't think he wasn't capable.
All right. You're not looking at yesterday's batting lineup, are you? Or the scoreboard? Don't look.
Okay. I'm not.
Okay. Who has the higher batting average right now? Chas McCormick or Jake Meyers?
By your question, I'm probably going to say Chas McCormick.
Yeah, 429, 348. Who has a higher OPS?
Jake Meyers.
1222 to 1003. Yes, that's because of the home runs. But I think both of them are having great spring training is great for the Houston Astros. I don't care. I'm not competing for one or the other. I want them both to do well. If they both do well, that's going to help the Houston Astros. Just imagine how deep this lineup can be if they all succeed. And there's a little bit of a scary little incident yesterday. Jeremy Pena got tangled up by one of the players, I believe. He got like somebody was trying to steal base, or they were trying to tag somebody out. The trainers went out to look at him, but he stayed in game. But it looked like his arm was injured a little bit, but everything seems to be okay. He stayed in the game a little bit. And Kyle Tucker increased. He went 3 for 4 yesterday, and his batting average is 375. So he's getting off to a hot start. So there's a lot to be thankful for this season so far. Dubon has a 579 average with a 1408 OPS. So there's like the hitting is taking off. So I think we need to just kind of look, see, is the pitching good enough? Do the Astros need to go get Blake Snell? And the next thing is, how long will JV be out? And is it going to interfere with his possibility of getting to 300 wins? Because I think the 300 win pitcher, it's a dying breed. I know we talked about it before. Justin Verlander may be one of the last ones there. I know Max Scherzer still has a chance. I don't think Zach Greinke has a chance anymore.
No, sorry, Zach. No, it's the 45-mile-an-hour eephus pitch is not going to get you to 300. But you're right, Eric. It is a dying breed, it is a dinosaur in baseball, and it's a shame. And I think, though, the record books and the Hall of Fame people have to consider that. Like, they can't keep a guy out because he didn't get 300 wins. And I'm pretty sure they consider the ever-changing game of baseball. But, Justin Verlander really got put behind the 8 ball when he went out with his last Tommy John, when he was out for a full season.
Right.
And so that really, had he not gone out, I think Justin Verlander easily gets to 300, but he probably has to pitch at least this year and 2 more years after to get to 300. And who knows, maybe he does it. I mean, it's not impossible. It's improbable. Maybe he has to pitch till he's 45, but I'm just saying.
That's what he wanted to do. But Justin Verlander right now is at 257 wins. He is 43 wins away from 300. That means if he pitches for the next 3 years, he has to average about 14.3 wins per season. So 1 year he needs to get 15 wins. So I think that's a strong possibility, especially with his record, but he does need to stay healthy, and he is 41. He's not getting any younger. So that means he will have to pitch till he's about 44. I think this will be something that he's going to strive for. I think he's an old school pitcher. This is something that means something to him. I know Clayton Kershaw is another one that still has a chance. He's 35, but he has 210 wins. But with him, injuries are an issue. Max Scherzer, he's 38, 214. Zach Greinke, he's 39, 225. But then the next person there is Gerrit Cole at 145. And he's at 32 years old. But still, it's just like you don't know. The wins are not as big as they used to be.
No, right. I mean, they don't go as long in the game. The game's not, they don't stretch out,
Right.
Gone are the days of, like Nolan Ryan being pissed off if you came to get him in the 8th inning or even in the 9th inning. He's like, when I start a game, I finish what I start. And we've just changed that mentality. So, but yeah, man, I think JV is the closest and possibly could get it, but it'll be a very tough hill to climb.
Yeah, guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. Whether it's on YouTube, go and subscribe to us. Go and make us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Go ahead and subscribe to us and give us a big fat thumbs up on YouTube. We'll be back on Sunday, and go ahead and if the Astros go sign Blake Snell, we'll go ahead and have a snail fest. We'll go ahead and eat some snails. I don't even like
stop. No, that's snail. Come on, it's not even the same. Anyway,
I know. Just being silly. I don't eat escargot.
Rocket
All right,
snail.
that's all we got for this edition of Locked On Astros. We'll see you later, and go Astros.